Okay, so quick heads up before we dive in. If you've been with me for the last few episodes, you know we've gone deep. Heavy topics, raw stories, and zero sugarcoating. That's not going away. But I realize something. There are plenty of podcasts that stay serious from start to finish. What we're doing here, we're keeping the truth telling and the deep stuff, but we're also going to make room for the messy, ridiculous, did they really just do that? Moments that I can't help but react to because life is heavy, but it's also absurd. And if we can't laugh at the absurd while facing the heavy, we're gonna burn out. So buckle up. This episode still has betrayal, bad decisions, and the kind of true crime that will make you shake your head. But you're also going to get my unfiltered sidebars because that's just how I process the mess. Welcome back. It started with desperation, not the kind you can shake off after a bad week, the kind that empties your bank account, sells off your valuables, and forces you to pack what's left into the back of a car that's one oil change away from dying. They weren't chasing opportunity, they were running from ruin. Back home, the cupboards were bare, the bills were late, and whispers about what would happen next were enough to keep you awake at night. Staying meant starving, so they left. They arrived in a city that gleamed like money and power, the kind of place where skyscraper glass reflects the sun in a way that dares you to look up. And at the top of that food chain, a man so powerful, so untouchable, his name opened doors and shut them just as easily. You didn't just meet this man, you were summoned. That's when the trouble started. They'd been through a lot already, long days, constant uncertainty, and the kind of exhaustion that makes you look for shortcuts just to survive. She trusted him, believed they were a team. Then out of nowhere, he drops the plan. When we get there, tell them we work together. Not married, not together, just colleagues on the same project? On the surface, it sounded harmless, but she knew what it really meant. It put her on the market. It erased any shield their relationship might have given her. She didn't get a vote. It wasn't a discussion. It was a decision made without her and for her, the kind of decision that benefits one person and leaves the other completely exposed. And just like that, she walked straight into a world where her safety depended entirely on the mercy of strangers. Okay, so you're telling me that this woman's husband tells her to lie to keep himself safe. Not her, himself. No, 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 no. We said till death do us part, and your death is coming after you bring this nonsense to me. Putting me in danger to keep yourself safe. Not today, not tomorrow, not any day. No, 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 this would not fly. Back to the story. They arrived like strangers, drifting in from the edge of the map, hungry, worn down, and hoping to blend in. But she was impossible to ignore. It started small. Whispers on the street, curious glances that lasted a beat too long, shopkeepers paused mid-transaction, workers leaned out of doorways. It wasn't that she was beautiful. It was the way she carried herself, poised, untouchable, the kind of presence that made people wonder what kind of life she'd had before she ended up here. And in a city like this, whispers don't stay small. They travel. They're vendors, servants, officials, until they reached the ears of the man who controlled it all. He didn't need to see her to be interested. All he needed was the description. By the time his people came to find her, the decision had already been made. She wasn't being invited. She was being claimed. They didn't knock like guests. They entered like owners. Two men in pressed suits, the kind who didn't need to flash a badge to make it clear they had authority. There were no explanations, no questions, just a statement, "You're coming with us." Okay, Messi Drasan is back. So you're just going to roll up to my house uninvited, because you know I don't like people just stopping by my house unannounced. You need to give me 3 days notice, pigeon, mail if you're coming over. And you're just going to swing by and think you're going to take me? No, you can take him. He's the one talking all that nonsense. I'm staying right here in my comfy house, in my comfy chanclas. Find another one, because she ain't me. She ain't me. Okay, back to the story. The ride through the city felt surreal. The noise of the streets faded into the low hum of the engine. Every stoplight an unspoken reminder that she was no longer in control. And when the car finally slowed, she saw it. The kind of property you only read about. Guarded gates, flawless landscaping, windows that reflected the sky like they owned it. Inside, the world shifted. Plush carpet swallowed the sound of her steps. Air conditioning hissed, softly cooling a place that felt colder for other reasons. She was led down a long hallway, past heavy doors and quiet staff who kept their eyes on the floor. The man, at the center of it all, wasn't waiting in the open. He was the kind who let his presence be felt before it was seen. But when he did appear, tailored suit, calm smile, eyes that said everything here belongs to me, she understood. She wasn't there as a guest. She was an acquisition. The clothes, the jewelry, the meals, they were all part of the same unspoken contract. She was to play the role, to stay quiet. And if she was wondering when her husband might burst through the door to take her back, she'd be waiting a long time. Because this wasn't a kidnapping in the dark. It was a transaction in broad daylight. Then something shifted. She didn't know exactly when it started, but she felt it in the way people avoided eye contact, in the way conversations dropped to a whisper when she entered the room. Powerful men, like him, have ears everywhere, and sooner or later, one of those ears heard something they weren't supposed to, that she wasn't who she claimed to be. He didn't blow up. Men like him rarely do. Instead, he called for her husband. The meeting wasn't long. "Is it true?" he asked, voice flat. "You're married to her?" Silence. Then the truth. A single admission that shattered the story he'd been sold. They weren't just coworkers. They weren't casual. They were bound together in a way that made everything about her presence here wrong. And in that moment, the calculation changed. This wasn't about romance or even possession anymore. It was about reputation. Keeping her would make him look like a thief, a fool, or both. So he ended it. No shouting, no scene, just a quiet order. Send her back. The ride back wasn't a rescue mission. It wasn't a reunion fueled by love. This was damage control. When she stepped out of that car, she didn't see relief on her husband's eyes, just the unspoken acknowledgement that this wasn't going to be the last time he put her on the line to save himself. we need to step out of the crime scene for a minute. This is the messy middle where I stop pretending I have it all together and we talk about the part of the story that still got me side eyeing the whole situation. You know, the part where my mouth gets me in trouble, my sarcasm takes the wheel, and I'm trying to make sense of the chaos. Sometimes it's personal, sometimes it's petty. Today it's both. So you mean to tell me that this husband gave his wife to another man and was like, deuces, good luck. See you on the flip side. Well, probably won't because you're with some rich man who can make you disappear. Hope you enjoyed our marriage for a bit. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I would be burning that whole damn city down to the ground. And I'd come back for revenge for that husband. I wouldn't be coming back with the meek smile, be like, "Hi, honey." I'd be like, you gonna learn today. You gonna die today. Try me." Okay, I'm gonna give you a quick little story because that's part of me. I tell you about my crazy stories. So when my youngest son was ready to be born, I had to have him induced. Okay, so his father, my ex-husband, was too tired to take me to the hospital and asked if somebody else could take me because, he needed his rest. Rest? Honey, I've been carrying your baby, okay, for 9 months, okay, with your funky attitude. And I'm supposed to do this alone? Forget it. I'll do it alone because there's one thing about us women. We will figure that shit out every time. So I called my girlfriend. I was like, hey, girl, hey. Don't mind my loser of a husband. Can you take me at 5:30 in the morning to get induced? Of course, she was cool. Shout out Mary. She's the real winner in this one. And so she takes me to the hospital. And you know what I told this fool? When he said, okay, I'll see you later. I said, don't even bother. Don't even bother coming. Because if you're not going to even take me to the hospital, that's the easy part. Just get in the car and drop my ass off, okay? You can't even do that. Don't come in. Well, my legs are spread wide for all of the hospital to see, which you don't even care when you're in labor. But, at least my toes were done. My toenails were cute. Anywho, so this fool ends up showing up. And you know what my smart ass says? I said, you better not look at me. You better not touch me. You better not even breathe on me. I will let you be here for your son. You are lucky I'm not grabbing this slipper and throwing it like a chancla to your throat. Try me. No. This would not happen with me. No, honey. Leaving me with some strange man. I mean, was he cute? Because he was rich. Was he richer than my husband? Anyway. No, this would not fly. And that's your messy middle. So here's the rap sheet. Fraud, coercion, reckless endangerment, a wife handed over like a networking perk. And yet, this couple's names, they're not buried in some tabloid archive. They're written into the very origin story of faith. Because this man, Abraham, and the woman he put at risk, Sarai, later Sarah, if you grew up thinking the Bible was full of perfect people, here's your spoiler alert. It's not. It's full of people like this, manipulative, selfish, terrified, and people like me, maybe like you. The point isn't that they got it right. The point is that God showed up in the middle of it, in their lies, their betrayal, their absolute mess, and still carried his plan forward. And that plan, it would wind its way through generations, through scandal after scandal, until it arrived in the life and sacrifice of Jesus, the one who would redeem the whole story. So maybe this isn't about cleaning up your image to make the cut. Maybe it's about trusting that God can take even the wreckage you've made and build something bigger than you ever imagined. If you want to read this whole thing without my voice in your head, You'll find it in Genesis 12. Read it slow. Forget what you think you know. See the fear, the power plays, the mistakes, and see how God shows up anyway. I love to hear what stories you want my crazy take on next. Email me at buriedtruthpod@gmail.com. And next week on Buried Truth, a marriage triangle, a desperate wife, a decision that will split a family in two, and yet somehow still lead to hope. Stay curious, stay rooted in truth.